Well, hi guys, welcome, and who dat? I'm Joe. Thanks for tuning in to Rosenfield 10, where I cover our beloved Bless You Boys in black and gold, the New Orleans Saints. Are you a who dat? Are you a who dat fan? If you're a who dat, subscribe to my channel. I talk about the Saints all the time. You let me know in the comments what you think. I respond to all my comments. And today, I'm going to tackle the question of Shough versus Rattler. What should the Saints do? And this is something that I felt like I should do an independent video about, and we'll get it all out on the table right now. Let's talk about it. My opinion, I expressed in my past video, which was a review of the loss to New England. And I figured, well, if you're not interested in a review to a loss by the Saints, then you're not going to know my opinion. So this is it. You leave your comment and let me know what you think. We'll have a discussion. I'll respond to my comments. So let's talk about it. It's been 6 weeks this year, and we've had Spencer Rattler as our starter. We're 1-5, but Rattler has looked pretty good. We've got second round pick Tyler Shough waiting in the wings. This coaching staff inherited Spencer Rattler, and they drafted Tyler Shough. And it seems like we're going to have a losing record, and we're going to end up with a pretty decent draft pick next year. So the question of drafting a quarterback's going to come up. Do you feel like Spencer Rattler is your franchise guy after 6 games this year, plus 6 games last year? A lot of people want to ignore what happened last year. You have to take all of it into account, including the fact that Rattler showed something last year, and I think this year has shown a lot of improvement. So I consider those first 6 games by Rattler, albeit losses. I don't put the losses on Rattler's head. After a while, the quarterback is going to be identified by those wins and losses, whether it's fairly or not. So, but as a fan watching the games, I thought Rattler did fine last year. He just wasn't going to win any games for you, and he had an awful team around him. This year, the team's slightly better, and you can see that we're in a rebuilding mode. And after 6 games this year, I'm thinking Spencer Rattler looks pretty good. Compared to last year, he looks a lot better. So these are his numbers right now: 139 out of 203. That's a completion percentage of 68.5. I didn't think Rattler had it in him to be better than 60. I was predicting he would probably float around 62% this year, completion percentage. He's at 68.5, so that blows it out of the water for me. He got sacked a ton last year behind a weak offensive line. Our offensive line has had injuries this year, but Rattler has shown the ability to escape pressure, and he's avoiding sacks this year. Now, he's not one of the least sacked quarterbacks this year, but he is getting sacked at a percentage that's way lower than it was last year, and it's a noticeable improvement. So the only problem is that I can see some people think he's not attacking the field deep, and that's reflective on his yards: 1,217 yards. That's only an average of 6 yards per pass. And yeah, after 6 games, you're talking about roughly 200 yards a game. Well, I figured he would average between 200 and 220 yards a game. So I'm not far off on the yardage, but it's not good. But I don't think it's because of his unwillingness to do it. I don't think he has time behind that offensive line for these longer routes to develop. I see some of these play designs. Most of them have a long route. A lot of the routes become open, but by the time the route's open, Rattler's running for his life. Now, that's just the facts of the matter. It's kind of hard to get 100% accurate grade on what we're dealing with here when you put everything in perspective. New coach, new system, a roster that's not complete. Yeah, Rattler has more parts now than he did last year, and his production's way up. But wins and losses, it's just not translating. So, how are we going to go about this? He has 6 touchdowns, 1 interception through 6 games. You project that. Let's assume he's only 6 yards per attempt. By the end of the year, he's going to end up with 3,448 yards, which is about to be expected for like a rookie type, and he's a first year guy, but he would only finish with 17 touchdowns, but he would only have 3 interceptions. And yeah, that interception count's way off from what I thought it would be. I figured he would average an interception a game. I figured he'd have 17 interceptions if he played 17 games. But no, he's on pace to just throw 17 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions. So if you look at that 17 game current output, Rattler overall, it would be, yeah, you didn't score enough touchdowns, but you kept the ball out of harm's way. You didn't get enough yards. You didn't win enough games. So now that's the facts of the matter. And then projecting what he's doing now. He's actually almost improving week to week, almost. But every week you see him get a little better. And, you know, we got to consider Kellen Moore and the coaching as well. I mean, Moore's trying to put the right pieces in the right places. Moore's trying to probably set things up so other things would open up later, and at the same time trying to figure out what this offense can do. Maybe he's handling Rattler with kids' gloves. Maybe he's giving Rattler these opportunities. They're just not coming because of, he's got passes being dropped all over the field. He's under pressure constantly. Running game isn't going. A lot of the times we're behind. Almost all of the time this year we've been behind, playing catch up. And yeah, there's a lot of factors. So enough excuses. What do I think? Is Spencer Rattler the quarterback of the future for the Saints? I don't know. But I'm willing to give him a shot. I'm willing, and this is what I said in the last video, but I wanted to make a video separate, let everyone know how I feel about this. I feel like Rattler's shown enough right now that you could sit him the rest of the year, give Tyler Shough a shot, and then next year go into next year with Rattler and Shough again. I think Rattler's shown enough that if Shough gets the rest of the year, even if he's bad, even if Shough is bad, I'm impressed enough with Rattler where I'd be willing to bypass drafting a quarterback high next year and I'd roll into next season with Rattler. That's how confident I am that Rattler can perform well at as our starting quarterback. I think he's showing enough improvement that you give him more pieces, you give him more time on task, he'll get better and better, and then you may end up with a guy that you're really happy with at quarterback. So that's how I feel about Rattler. Now, how do I feel about Shough? 40th overall pick, Kellen Moore's player of choice. I don't think 4 games is going to be enough to know what you have with Shough. I think Shough would struggle in his first 4 games, starting 4 games in the NFL, playing the entire game. I think he would struggle. And I think it would take a lot of time on task for him to have the ability to show, the opportunity to show improvement. Now, in the past comment I made was I didn't want to wait until the bye week because I wanted Shough to have more than just 5 games. Well, the bye week comes after 10 games. If Shough were to start every game after the bye week, he would have 7, which means he would have the first 4 to fail miserably, like I've said. And then he would have 3 more games after that to show improvement. Now, that That's better. I thought after the bye week we'd only have 5 games left. No, I looked at the schedule. We've got 7 games after the bye week. I think 7 games would be enough to gauge whether Tyler Shough is your quarterback of the future or not, whether you're willing to take that chance. I really truly believe Shough needs about a month to struggle. I believe if you start Tyler Shough after the bye week, we would probably lose the first 4 games, and Shough would be the reason we would be losing. He'd be throwing interceptions, he'll be fumbling the ball. Now, that's just how I feel. Any rookie quarterback would. Spencer Rattler did last year, struggled, and Shough would struggle. But then Shough would get the last 3 games of the season to show some sort of improvement. And I'd have Rattler on the bench. I'd have Rattler on the bench for the second half of the season, even though I know we would have a better chance of winning with Rattler out there. Once you're 1-5, I don't see us winning 2 or 3 of the next games. I mean, we're probably going to end up somewhere around 2-8 at best. 2-8 when the bye week comes. That's not playoff caliber football right there. And you keep Rattler in there and he ends up winning 4 or 5 in a row. You still have a losing record. And yeah, I believe that it would affirm that, that Rattlers could be your guy if he starts performing well and we start ripping off some wins. That'll be the affirmation, right? But like I said, I feel comfortable enough with Rattler and what he's done so far to say, yeah, you're our starter next year. We just have to give Shough a chance. And how much of a chance does Shough need? If you don't think Shough is a good quarterback because of what he did in college, that fact that he's older and whatever else you might have, the issues you may have, what he did in preseason, the fact that he couldn't beat out a 5th round draft pick quarterback, all those things. If you have negative feelings towards Shough, you got to kind of admit, no matter how big of a Spencer Rattler fan you are, you got to admit, because it's the truth, that Shough just simply has not had the opportunity to show what he can do. And I'm trying to be overboard with it. Maybe 4 games is all you need to see. Maybe he goes out there, he's 0-4, and you say, that's enough. That's all I need to see. I don't feel that way. I feel like you need a few more games after that. A few more games to show that you can at least improve, to have this offense clicking. And during the duration of that 4 to 7 weeks, when Shough is playing, you might see injuries on the team. We might end up in a situation like we were last year where poor Spencer Rattler couldn't do anything because of the state of the franchise and the team. That might happen to Shough. But this is how I feel. This is how I feel about it. I like Rattler. I'm willing to start Rattler as our future quarterback. I'm willing to start him next year with a number 1 wide receiver, with a better tight end, with a better offensive line. Add pieces on the defense, add pieces all around Rattler on the offense, and then start the season with Rattler. And I think we would have a good chance, a fighting chance. I actually haven't seen Rattler perform well in the red zone. He hasn't produced enough touchdowns. So there's still a lot of questions about Rattler. It might be the wrong decision to go in the next year with Rattler and Shough again. It might be the wrong decision, but it also, I mean, how do you improve the situation? You're either going to get a free agent quarterback or you're going to draft one. This coming draft was supposed to be the great quarterback draft. College football's going on right now, and everybody's saying, oh, the quarterbacks don't look so hot after all. I'm doing these mock drafts simulators, and I'm seeing quarterbacks fluctuate up and down the board like crazy. But I'll tell you, so far, the consistent thing is that you can put off on these quarterbacks and still get one in the second or third round. I mean, Garrett Nussmeier was a top 10 draft pick prospect to start the season. Right now, in some of these simulators, you can get him in the third round because he's performing so poorly. A lot of the quarterbacks that I like, they're fluctuating. I like Dante Moore out of Oregon. He was a top 5 projection. He went from being a third round projection to a bottom of the first round projection to a top of the first round projection, and then he had a not so good game this last game, and so we'll see what happens after that. But these quarterbacks are up and down all the time. Ty Simpson was a fourth round projection. Now people are saying he's a first round projection. I like Ty Simpson. I like Dante Moore, and who else do I like? I like Baron Morton, but ain't nobody gonna talk about him. I like Will Hammond, but nobody's gonna talk about him, So we'll see what happens. But what I'm saying is the quarterbacks in college right now are so hot and cold that unless they have physical attributes that people identify as, okay, you got to go get this because this quarterback has these tools and we can work with it, that kind of stuff. So Mendoza or Sellers, all those guys might be obvious first round picks, but I kind of like Dante Moore and Ty Simpson better. So where do those guys fall? Can you get them at the bottom of the first round? Can you get them in the second round? Can you really get Garrett Nussmeier in the third round? Because I'm not sold on getting a guy like Lenoris Sellers. I'm not sold on that right now. And Mendoza. John Mateer's another one. Everyone said he was a first round pick, and then he had a bad game, and he's struggling. He's got injuries and everything else. And no, right now you can get Mateer in the second round in most of these simulations. So if I like Mateer more than Sellers, why the hell would I draft Sellers with a top five pick? I'll just wait till the second round and grab Simpson or Nussmeier. I think I would be getting a comparable quarterback when it's all said and done. All that to say, I could probably draft a quarterback in this upcoming draft in the second or third round and be just as fine with it as blowing my first round pick on one. I haven't seen one worth a first round pick yet. I haven't seen one that I would take ahead of Reuben Baines, edge rusher, or Mansour Delane, cornerback, or uh, Jordan Tyson, wide receiver. I would rather take wide receiver Carnell Tate out of Ohio State with a top 10 pick than I would one of these quarterbacks right now. That's what I'm saying. So, if you do spend your high draft picks in the draft on other positions besides quarterback and you don't address quarterback at all, or you address quarterback late and you're just bringing in another body to compete with Jake Hayner and Tyler Shough and Spencer Rattler, and you might end up with Spencer Rattler as your starter anyway. Who's to say the draft 2 years from now won't have great quarterback prospects? It all fluctuates. Most of the first round quarterbacks that have gotten drafted lately haven't turned out to be all that. It's like every other year. You have one year where you got a bunch of them starting, and then you have one year like this past year where only two of them are starting, three, count the kid in Cleveland. There's three starting, and Shough was the second one taken on our team. He's going to be starting eventually. Yeah, I'm not seeing world beaters coming out of every year in the draft at quarterback, but it's not impossible to find them. So, overall, that's how I feel. You can sit Rattler starting now, and I'd be comfortable starting Rattler next year. But I wouldn't be comfortable not knowing what we have in Shough. And would you be convinced after 7 games, let's say Shough's output is similar to Rattler through the last 7 games, would you be satisfied then that you have all the information you need? I mean, those wins and losses eventually are going to start creeping in. You get the same output from Shough, but you win a couple of games instead of losing all of them. People are going to look more favorably towards Shough. So it's not fair, but when it's all said and done, with the state of the roster, if there's a lot of injuries at the end of the year and Shuck's not working with a full deck, you can excuse some of the statistical differences there too and start to say, hey, look, he's in a bad position like Rattler was last year. But yeah, I'm not going to be 100% satisfied with any of it because there's just not enough time. I want to see Rattler play the rest of the games. I want to see us start to win some games at the end of the year and to feel really good about Rattler being our starter. I would love to see that. But it's a disservice if you don't give Tyler Shough a chance. So you let me know in the comments, how much time should Tyler Shough get on task? It's malpractice if you don't play him. So if you tell me don't play him at all, that means you're convinced Rattler is better than Shough, so much better than Shough that Shough didn't even deserve a chance to play. You got your guy in Rattler. It's clear cut. That's the only way you can say Shough doesn't need any time on task. And if that's your opinion, great. I hope Rattler brings us to 5 Super Bowls, if that's the case. But to me, it's not the case. I think there's some things about Shough that you have to see. Shough has an ability to layer passes. He has a bit of touch. He has a bit of accuracy. That's slightly better than Rattler. He's also worse than Rattler when it comes to escaping pressure. He's going to take sacks, and he's probably going to put the ball in harm's way, which is something Rattler has not done this year. So there's pluses and minuses for both of them. So that's my opinion. I think Shough needs 4 games to start at least to fail miserably, and I think after that he needs at least 3 or 4 more. Maybe after this game away against Chicago, Rattler starting. We play this game at Chicago, and then we come back to the Dome versus the Bucks, and maybe that's when Tyler Shough finally gets his first start. That'll give him 10 games. Or you can wait until the bye week, let Rattler ride it out to the bye week, and you give those last 7 games. But if you wait till the bye week, yeah, Shough needs those last 7 games. Now that's how I feel. And like I said, Rattler's performed well enough for me to coin him the starter next year, no problem. No matter what Shough does, Rattler could be our starter. If Shough performs very well, you have another quarterback competition next year. But drafting one and bringing one in, that's not going to be your obvious starter. That would be tough. That would be rough. So let me know what you would do. Give Shough time and draft a quarterback anyway. Don't give Shough time at all and go at Rattler. Don't play Shough at all. Draft another quarterback anyway. Or would you avoid drafting a quarterback and build around Rattler? Or would you do like what I'm saying? Give Shough some time. This season is lost. Let's let the season go. Give Shough time on task to show what he is, and then make our decision after that. If Shough is obviously better than Rattler, you still have a quarterback competition, but you know this coaching staff will go with Shough. Shough needs the time on task. He really does. And if it's close, you let him battle it out again next year. And if Rattler's your starter after a second camp battle between these two, then the coaching staff will know exactly what they have in Shough. Okay, that's how I feel about it. You let me know in the comments. I'll respond. If I don't respond, it's because I'm not getting a notification, but I will respond. You let me know. Am I crazy? Worst case scenario, bye week. After the bye week, you start Shough. And until the next one, subscribe, please. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Who dat?